Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome to your 3D Hebrew Notes videos. Most of this is fill in the blanks, so you just kind of follow along. Again, remember, if I move too fast for you guys, you can always press pause or rewind the recording to catch what you need to. Alright, so let's talk about the Hebrews. First, they're going to trace their early descent to a guy named Abraham. Abraham settles in the Fertile Crescent between the Mediterranean Sea and the Jordan Sea. This area down here, okay? Down in here in Canaan. Alright, this is known presently in the present day as Israel. Abraham's descendants are going to become known as the Hebrews. Abraham and the Hebrews are significant because they're our first monotheists. Remember, monotheism is the belief in one God. So Abraham's our first to believe in only one God and his followers. And Abraham's monotheism is going to become the foundation of Judaism, Christianity, and eventually Islam as well. So there are a lot of different parts of the world and a lot of different faiths that trace the background of their religion to Abraham. Now, Abraham had a covenant with God that in exchange for worshiping God and only that God, the land of Canaan of Israel would be promised to his people. His people have spread quite a bit, obviously. Another important figure you need to know is Moses. Moses led the Hebrews out of slavery in Egypt to the Promised Land. If you believe the stories, he is credited with bringing the plagues on Egypt. He's also credited with being the one who tells Pharaoh, "Let my people go." And then he delivers the 10 Commandments to the Hebrew people. Some basic beliefs of Judaism, the religion of the Hebrews, known as the Jews. The big one God. Alright, one God. Now, they also have a sacred text known as the Torah. Sacred text. Okay. Guys, I'm going to ask that we please refer to things as sacred texts this year. Okay, that is not the Hebrew Bible, it's the Hebrew sacred text. Just like Muslims would be upset if we referred to the Quran as the Muslim Bible. Okay, the Bible is a Christian thing. The Torah is their sacred text. And then their laws are the 10 Commandments. The 10 Commandments state both religious and moral conduct in that they require believers both worship God and live justly with one another. So there are things like, thou shalt not worship false idols, and thou shalt not kill. So they cover both religious and moral things within those 10 laws. And it's one of 2 early law codes that you need to know as examples of early written laws. The 10 Commandments is one, the other is Hammurabi's Code. Moving on, the Torah is the holy book of Judaism. It contains the records and beliefs of the Hebrew people. It can also be found as the first 5 books of the Old Testament of the Bible. That would be Numbers, Deuteronomy, Leviticus, Genesis, and Exodus. If you have ever bothered to read any excerpts of those, parts of them will read very much like history books because it is the records, the history of the Hebrew people. Alright, the Jewish Empire. So, this guy named David is going to unite the 12 tribes of Israel. And you may have heard of this guy named David before, and the reason he unites them is he is the guy of David and Goliath. He takes on the Philistine, defeats him in a big upset, and they unite and make him king. And as he is the king of the 12 tribes, he establishes the city of Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. And this is around, we're not showing exact years, but roughly around 1000 BCE, so about 3,000 years ago. Today, Jerusalem is a holy city to Muslims and Christians as well as Jews. I mean, for obvious sake, obviously we understand why it would be holy to the Jews and Christians. Those of you who know anything about Christianity know that, Jesus was executed in Jerusalem, so that would be a holy city for the Christians. Also, that Jesus was a Jew initially. David's successor, Solomon, gets credited with building Solomon's temple, as it's known. Now, the temple itself, the Temple of Jerusalem, is destroyed by the Romans in 70 CE. And that was actually the second temple. The west wall of the Temple Mount is all that remains today. Now, the west wall is considered the most sacred shrine to Jews. They come from all over the world to pray at this shrine. Most Jews will go there at least once in their lifetime. It's a big deal for them. This wall has another name that you may have heard before, and it's known as the Wailing Wall. Alright, so the Temple Mount, the western wall, what's left of it, is known as the Wailing Wall, very sacred site to Jews. Now, the site of the original temple is also now occupied by a Muslim mosque, and this is part of why we have problems in the Middle East, is while the Temple Mount is a holy site to Jews, and to Christians too, who believe that Solomon's part of their heritage, ownership of these holy sites becomes a source of bickering between Muslims and Jews because it's a holy site for the Muslims too. And both want access, and they don't necessarily agree that they should have to share it, because the Dome of the Rock is one of the most important holy sites for Muslims. It's where it is believed that the rock that Muhammad ascended to heaven resides. Moving on now, exile. The Jews were eventually driven from their homeland by the Romans in the year 132 CE. The state of Israel is going to cease to exist for almost or over 1800 years. We don't get Israel back until 1948. That's when we get her back. And we get it back because the United Nations decides to create the State of Israel, replacing the State of Palestine in the wake of World War II and the Holocaust. Now, this exile has a special name, and this exile, as a result of it, the Jews are going to spread all throughout Rome. And the special name for this exile is the diaspora. Okay, diaspora is a word that means scattering of the Jews. You have to know this word. It refers specifically to the scattering of the Hebrew people, not to any other one. You have to know it. All right? And so that is the foundations of Judaism, and the first of many religions that we are going to cover this year.